I'm about to have dinner in a restaurant all by myself. And you know how I feel about that? I feel great. I really do. But a lot of women do not feel great about eating out alone, especially at dinner time. So in today's video, I want to talk about that fear of solo dining, how you can conquer it with the right mindset and the right preparation. And as an additional note on your preparation, how you can use AI tools to help you find that perfect restaurant for your next solo meal. So let's get started. My name is Jackie, and this is Ready, Set, Solo, where we talk about all things related to solo travel for women. So let's talk first about this fear or discomfort of eating alone in a restaurant that a fair number of women seem to have. So many that there's actually a name for it in the psychiatric literature. It is called solomangarophobia. Seriously, I did not make that up. And it goes like this. Women say, oh, I'm okay, eating at home alone, or if I'm traveling, eating alone in my hotel room with room service or something. I'm more comfortable with those options than I am with eating alone in a restaurant where I would get better food and, music in the background and all kinds of other things. Why would that be? The biggest reason seems to be that when we as women walk into a restaurant alone, we immediately think, oh, other people are judging us, right? They must think that I'm friendless, that I'm an outcast, that I'm such an unpleasant person that nobody wants to eat with me. And here's the thing, nobody's thinking that about you. In fact, no one is thinking about you at all. Those other diners, they're thinking about the menu. They're thinking about who they're dining with. They're thinking about the service. They're not that into you. So how did we get there in the first place, and how can you shake it off? I think the way to shake it off is by deciding in advance to turn it 180 degrees. And instead of thinking, oh, they're probably looking down on me, how about this? Wow, those people are thinking, look at that strong, independent woman. She is happily sitting down to the meal she wants, in the place she wants, at the time she wants. She is in control of her life. That's really impressive. So if you get that message into your own head that you are, in fact, an impressive, strong woman, then going out and dining by yourself becomes more of an impressive, strong thing instead of something that makes you feel bad about yourself. So the first step in this whole process is to get your mindset right before you even walk into that restaurant. So another thing that makes some women feel reluctant to eat alone is that sense of, I don't know what to do with myself sitting alone at a table in a restaurant. Like, when I'm not actually eating or drinking, what do I do? What do I do with my hands? Where do I look in the room? How do I kind of keep myself occupied? Well, there's a couple of options. I mean, the classic is to bring a book along, whether that's a hard copy book or your Kindle. What I really like to do, though, is to bring along a journal. This is the one I'm using right now. But the great thing about bringing a journal is you can spend your time, while you're waiting on your order or what have you, just jotting down how you're feeling, how the food is, how the service is, maybe some of the dishy conversation you overheard at the next table. Whatever it is, use the journal as a way to get more involved in the meal and the restaurant itself. So that way, the thing you've brought along as a prop goes beyond being a prop, and it really becomes part of the meal and makes the meal even better. So how do you go about picking the restaurant in the first place? Well, I kind of use two methods primarily. One of them is very old school. I either call the hotel ahead of my trip and say, hey, you guys have recommendations? I'd like to have a reservation in place before I get there. And you can tell them what you're looking for. 99 times out of 100, they'll have a good recommendation for you. And most of the time, they will go ahead and make that reservation for you, so you know it's done. Or you can wait and do that when you get to the hotel and talk to someone at the desk about that. So that's my old school method. But my new method is to use AI, and specifically Claude. I find that it is very useful in really finding restaurants that fit exactly the criteria I'm looking for that particular trip. So here's an example of how I use AI to look for a restaurant. Now, many people use AI for very fancy and complicated things. I use it for restaurant recommendations. I either use Claude AI here on my laptop or I use the Claude app. But it is so helpful for identifying good restaurants. So I've given Claude the basic information here in this search that I ran just a couple of minutes ago. I'm arriving in Amsterdam by cruise ship, 5 o'clock on this date. I'm looking for 3 to 5 restaurant recommendations within a 20-minute walk of the cruise port. Here's the time I want to eat. And this is really important. I'm looking for restaurants serving local or regional cuisine. And that's almost always what I'm looking for when I'm traveling. I really see the dining as part of learning about the local culture, the local food. So that's really important to me. And I like phrasing it that way because I've gotten really good results with Claude when I've phrased it that way before. Um, I'm a solo, so don't give me any place that doesn't take reservations for a party of one. Here's my budget. Please give me also information about local tipping practices. As an American, I have found when traveling that tipping practices are very different in other countries. So that's why I want to make sure that I'm playing correctly by the rules when I go out to dinner in Amsterdam. And I've also said for each restaurant that you recommend, include a link to at least one review from some sort of crowdsourced review website. So that's a lot of different queries actually all put into one, which again is what I really love about using AI for this, is you can accomplish so much in a single request. So here's what I got back from Claude. My dinner options near the Amsterdam cruise port. I like that it includes a map and I can move this map around. I can zoom in, I can zoom out, just to see what the different options are and where they are visually to really get a sense of that. And I can see, oh, this one's the farthest away, but it has, the highest rating. Which restaurant is that? Oh, that's this, De Witt Zwan. So that might be the first, place that I end up looking at. And I did ask for a description of each one. Here it is. There's like a 2-minute description. How long is the walk? Why Claude chose this? And again, a link to a review, which is exactly what I asked for. And then I had also asked about tipping. So I get this, information on tipping. Again, it is different than in the US. The service is already included in the menu price by law. And, it's not a big tipping culture, but that's, very helpful to know. And then some specific recommendations for, how much you should pay if you want to, live up to the local expectation. So that's a lot of information in just a couple of minutes of my typing it in and Claude giving it back to me. So I really love using AI to find that restaurant that's going to fit exactly what I'm looking for. And that way, when I walk into the restaurant, I already am a little bit more comfortable because I know it's a place that's going to be solo friendly. And I know that it's going to be the type of food that I'm looking for. Now, one other thing that I think is really important in your preparation for going out to dinner solo is make a plan for alcohol. When you're traveling alone, you are your designated driver, whether you're literally driving or just walking or taking an Uber. It is on you to keep you safe. Do you want your designated driver to have had too much to drink? I don't. So I decide in advance what my limit is, and then I stick to it. And I usually write it down. Like if I'm taking a journal with me to dinner, I put that in the journal to try to, keep myself honest. So make a plan, decide what that alcohol limit is, and then make yourself stick to it. Okay, so here are your action steps. Number one, when you're planning your next solo trip, make sure you're planning your dining as a key component of that. It's a great way to learn about local culture and food and history. So make sure that that restaurant is worthy of you. The next thing you're going to do when you plan the restaurant is make sure that you've brought a prop and that you've made a plan for alcohol. Then when you walk in that door, you walk in as someone who's excited and proud to be solo dining in that restaurant that you chose because it's the right one for you. I hope this has been helpful to you. If you have any other thoughts or comments about your own experiences solo dining or tips for others, I hope you'll leave those in the comments below. And while you're down there, if you could hit the like and subscribe buttons, that would really help me continue to make more content like this on YouTube. Thank you so much for joining me, and as always, safe travels.